Afternoon. This is Mark Cavalier with the Southwest Coalition for Life, and we're getting ready to come to you with another pro-life update. It's been a couple weeks since our last update, and there's just been so much going on, both in New Mexico and just us going to learn more from organizations to respond to everything happening with some more boots on the ground efforts that we're excited to be bringing to you in the weeks and the months to come in response to this crisis that we've been facing. But first of all, I want to get started with a video that was just shared with us today from our friends over at Sidewalk Advocates for Life. And you may remember that we have shared a trailer of this brief documentary a couple months ago about the state of New Mexico, which the national organizations have identified as really this new front line in the pro-life efforts. And so this is part of a docu-series coming out highlighting a lot of the changes in a post-Roe society, starting first and foremost with everything happening in the state of New Mexico. And so without further ado, I'm going to start this this documentary that I want to introduce to you. This is a first-time viewing here through the Southwest Coalition for Life. And a lot of the people who are highlighted on this video, we're then going to bring on immediately after this short video ends. And you're going to hear from them about updates on everything happening at the current new legislative session that's about to end here in a few days and beyond. So let's go ahead and get this started, and then we'll come to you with more information shortly thereafter.
Post-Roe America is a rapidly changing landscape. Since the Supreme Court handed down the Dobbs decision in June, overturning the infamous Roe v. Wade abortion case, the battle lines have been drawn.
Tonight, the landmark ruling.
The Supreme Court has overturned Roe v. Wade.
It is a tectonic shift on abortion rights.
Some states have taken immediate steps to protect innocent human life, while other locations have literally dubbed themselves abortion destination or even abortion tourist states and cities. One of the abortion destination states is New Mexico, which allows abortion unrestricted until the point of birth. In fact, abortion businesses all over the South are moving here, and the number of abortion facilities may soon triple or even quadruple in the state.
This is the new ground zero and biggest question in the post-Roe abortion battle. How do we reach mothers in crisis before they're tempted to cross state lines? And then, how do we best serve them and help them to choose life for their preborn children once they've traveled hundreds of miles to the next nearest abortion facility? I knew that if we wanted to help save lives and end abortion in this new era, I had a journey there to understand what this all looked like, what we were up against, and learn how we can gradually turn hearts and minds and eventually see an abortion destination state like New Mexico defend life. I started my journey in borderland visiting Santa Teresa and Las Cruces.
We're right on the state line, literally between the two most extreme states on the life issue. Texas, where life is now protected from the moment it comes into existence, and New Mexico, where it's just kind of a free-for-all. And so abortionists are able to do late-term abortions even up through the third trimester until the moment of delivery.
Our governor talks about what she considers women's health care rights, but doesn't concern her at all that women are being sent to birth stillborn children in hotels.
So many women coming to an abortion center have a faith background, and they're praying for some kind of sign if they should go through with this or not. And so often they'll cite that they just saw someone out praying on their knees on their sidewalk, and that was their sign. And so we need that there. We got to a point where we were seeing 4 or 5 turnaways a day, just constantly caravanning with women to bring them over to our local Guiding Star Women's Center. Now there's a different level of desperation. The women that we're seeing have invested so much into, oftentimes they have gotten a plane ticket and they've flown across the state. They've gotten hotel rooms, they've rented rental cars. And by the time they show up at the abortion facility, they'll say, I got to catch a plane back home in a few hours.
Now the new location of the Pink House, the abortion facility, Jackson's Women's Health Organization, that was at issue in the Dobbs case. So we are here. They just moved here again to Las Cruces, New Mexico. And again, we're at ground zero in pro-abortion post-Roe America.
They are being referred from centers to here. They're going to their local centers and saying, where do we go? The people in Houston I've seen referred to Planned Parenthood in Las Cruces. The people in Dallas typically get referred here. I see a ton of women from Midland and Odessa here.
By the time they get here, they're even more committed to obtaining this abortion because the abortion facilities, the referral centers in Texas have already given them a gift card.
They're being paid for by abortion funds like the NAF Hotline or the NAREL Action Fund or the West Fund or the Mariposa Fund. These organizations are paying the doctors for the abortions in about 50% of the cases.
So that by the time they come to New Mexico and they encounter a sidewalk advocate, or somehow they come to a pregnancy center like ourselves, they almost feel more pressure to obtain the abortion because it's already been paid for.
We started to see a significant increase of women traveling from across the state of Texas, 16 hours across the state. We had a line of women literally going out the door around the abortion clinic from Houston, Texas, from Austin, from Lubbock for an abortion because this was the nearest place that they could go.
We were seeing roughly about 4,000 abortions a year total. Almost every one of these cars here today of women coming in are from Texas.
We've really just been feeling overwhelmed and overrun by really what is this predatory abortion industry that is flocking now to this area where abortion still remains completely unrestricted and unregulated.
In New Mexico, CYFD has mandatory reporting. If someone comes in and their child has certain kinds of injuries, they look for signs of abuse. But when those same signs of abuse are present, when someone, let's say, underage is being brought to an abortion clinic by someone not their parent, no questions are asked. There's no mandatory report. So how many, especially now that we're a destination state to this degree, how many victims of sex trafficking are brought to New Mexico specifically from Texas, Arizona, Colorado for abortions that are being used as a form of birth control from someone who's trapped in the sex trade?
It's the shame, especially in a state where so many people have expressed their concerns about third trimester abortions and the lack of regulation or oversight of the abortion industry.
This isn't a scenario confined to the Southwest. It's playing out all over the country as abortion legislation continues to evolve. No matter the legal status of abortion in a given state, pregnant moms still need support.
So being here on the ground in New Mexico, it was so interesting to hear them name all the major Texas cities that women were coming from: Dallas, Houston, Austin, San Antonio, Lubbock, McAllen, right? And their message to all of us was clear. If you are in an abortion restricted community now, if abortion is illegal in your state, we really need to be there to serve these women before they're tempted to come across state lines. So they're going to maybe an abortion referral facility in a community in Texas, and they're hearing about how they can get across state lines. Maybe somebody is offering to pay for their travel. They're getting a gas gift card thrown at them. And at that point, you know, they're still thinking about it, but then maybe they haven't made a full commitment. We can be there with life-affirming resources to help them to resource their situation right at that moment before they're tempted to cross state lines and take the life of their child. It's so much easier. We've seen it on the ground firsthand that women are actually, because abortion is not readily available, going ahead and getting on a mobile unit more readily, or going to a pregnancy resource center nearby, really interested in our services as they're still really weighing this decision out. But by the time that they've made that commitment to that drive, to that flight, and they actually end up in New Mexico, and I've met some of them on the sidewalk just yesterday, it is so much harder to get them to pause. It's that psychology of influence, commitment, and consistency. They've made a commitment to doing this by this time. It is so much harder to get your mind around the travel back home, what it's going to cost, the time and the energy and the effort to find a new solution to your crisis, right? And so again, we are hearing of turnarounds in abortion destination cities and states, but it is so much harder. People need you in abortion restricted communities to be on the ground, to be there for the women of your community at your local Planned Parenthood abortion referral facility, or to find a way to go to a high traffic area in your community to reach women before they are tempted to make a commitment to going across state lines and taking the life of their child.
We had someone from Portales call us, and they said, Whole Woman's Health, an abortion clinic out of Texas, wants to set up in your backyard. So we looked online, and sure enough, They had a GoFundMe page already set up. They had a big star right over Hobbs. And they said, we want to move here. The only solution and the first step that we must take in that is always to pray. We always have to ask the Lord to intervene for us. And then we got the worst news that we could have ever imagined. They did buy a building. We had until next Friday and they were going to be closing on it. We're only 3 miles from the Texas border. This community is the closest point for all of West Texas to come and get an abortion.
We're so grateful that even though, they were targeting here, that there's some people have stood up and said this isn't going to happen in Lee County.
And then the miracle happened. No one knew how, no one knew why, and sometimes that's how miracles happen. The deal fell through.
A few weeks back, I would have been devastated to be here. This was to be the abortion clinic in Lee County. Since then, things have happened. We don't know exactly what.
The building was back up on the market. The deal fell through. They weren't going to be moving into that facility. For us, abortion has always been a problem up in Albuquerque. It's always been a problem over in Las Cruces. For 50 years, it's been 5 hours away. We have so many resources in our community that are life-affirming, both for mother and for baby. We don't currently have an abortion facility, even though an abortion facility is looking to move in, but we do already have a crisis pregnancy center. We do already have an organization called Embrace Grace that helps young mothers. They'll actually throw them baby showers when perhaps they don't have the family to throw them a baby shower and help out. We already have, there's a great organization called Emma's Closet. They help out with foster families.
While communities in New Mexico take what steps they can to protect themselves from being taken over and turned into abortion destinations by the abortion industry, knowing nothing is foolproof, it's clear we must be at the ready to meet mothers in crisis, ready to go wherever the abortion industry goes, and active in nearby abortion-restricted states, meeting women on the sidewalk before they're tempted to cross state lines.
I'm here in Houston, Texas, in front of what used to be the largest abortion facility in the Western Hemisphere. It's now the largest abortion referral facility in the country. In other words, this facility, like many other Planned Parenthood centers in post-Roe America, is now serving primarily as a gateway to abortion businesses over 300 miles away. A couple weeks after the Dobbs decision was handed down, our sidewalk advocates told us Planned Parenthood was giving $300 gas gift cards to women to encourage them to take their business across state lines. Our local team in the early days of post-Roe America helped dozens of women get connected to life-affirming help and resources, and the vast majority of them chose life. One Friday in July, in fact, in just 5.5 hours on the sidewalk, our team helped 14 women who were prospectively seeking an out-of-state referral at Planned Parenthood get connected with the mobile ultrasound bus here run by the pregnancy help organization Houston Coalition for Life. And the greater majority, after receiving an ultrasound and holistic options counseling, chose life. These women realized they truly did have other options. We are finding that Houston, Texas is not an anomaly. Everywhere abortion is illegal, our sidewalk advocate teams are saying that women in general are more open to options and resources, making the case for people of faith and conscience like you and me to have an outreach presence at abortion referral facilities, knowing that so many women are still going there to explore their options.
The solution is clear. We need the presence of loving, prayerful, peaceful sidewalk advocates outside every abortion facility in states where abortion is legal. And in states where abortion is banned or limited, outside facilities referring women across state lines. We invite you to be part of the solution. Join our national prayer team. Start a location outside your local abortion or abortion referral facility. Join an existing Sidewalk Advocates for Life location, or make a sacrificial gift to help our mission to keep going and growing. Our goal is to cover every abortion and abortion referral facility in America with the presence of sidewalk advocates. And with lives literally on the line every single day, it's so clear that this is no time for anyone with a heart for life to take a back seat. The movement needs all of us working together to support pregnant women and help them access the local resources they may not even realize exist. Join us in this great mission to make a post-Roe America an abortion-free America, and help us help women in New Mexico, in Texas, and in every single corner of this country. Together, with God's grace, we can see miracles.
Amen. And I want to give a big thank you and shout out to our friends over at Sidewalk Advocates for Life. Lauren Mazika, the director there, is amazing and spent a lot of time in the state of New Mexico to unpack this situation that we are now dealing with. And so they just dropped that video today, and I wanted to share that with all of you. And so in fact, with Sidewalk Advocates for Life, we are getting ready to expand our sidewalk outreach program. We are looking for hold on. Sorry, I got multiple things going on in the background here. But we're looking to expand a lot of our pro-life services that are being offered with new pro-life nurse positions, new pro-life outreach internship positions paid out on the sidewalk, as well as now volunteer sidewalk advocates going through that Sidewalk Advocates for Life training to help fill in a lot of gaps right now that is very, very needed. So if that's something that you're interested, please reach out to our Southwest Coalition for Life at southwest.life, or if you're in the northern part of the state, you can reach out through Project Defending Life in Albuquerque and learn about those opportunities there. But that being said, there's been a lot that's been going on over the last couple of weeks, and so we're just going to jump right in to cover everything. And so I'm first going to bring on, she was on this video we saw just a minute ago, but our legislative advocate, Rebecca Dow, who is there right now. And so Rebecca, it's been crazy the last couple of weeks since our last update. I know we've just got a few days left in the session. What is the update and the current status of a lot of these bills that we're concerned about?
Well, so I'll say the bill number and then the subject matter. House Bill 7, which is kind of a log rolling everything in the kitchen sink bill. I think most of the listeners are familiar with it. It covers everything from banning local city and county ordinances. It creates a liability for any sort of public employee who would not help facilitate access to abortion, sexually transmitted infection services, family planning, and what the progressives call gender affirming care, which I would call gender confusion and even chemical and medical procedures on minor children. Takes away parental notification because they refused to create an exemption for minors. They refused to create an exemption for conscientious objection. So this is a very, very egregious bill, and it's waiting for the governor to sign. Paired with it, equally as scary, is House Bill 207, also waiting for the governor to sign. That expands the Human Rights Act to, it doesn't sound dangerous, to prevent discrimination in services provided to transgender individuals. Well, that sounds unassuming. And of course, no one providing a service like a homeless shelter or someone who's providing meals or someone who's providing Medicaid, Medicare. I mean, think of all the services that vulnerable populations would need. No one would deny someone based on their sexual orientation. But this will require that biological males be admitted into multi-stall restrooms. This will require that biological boys be able to compete with girls' sports if they identify different than their biological sexual assignment. And so that is a problem. The other problem with the bill is that they said any private person or private entity that takes any public money, they didn't define state or federal, just public money, must comply with this. And that is a problem for folks, faith-based organizations with deeply held religious beliefs who have been providing services to vulnerable populations in New Mexico without incident or without discrimination, are now being asked to make decisions that go against their deeply held religious beliefs, primarily that God created man and woman in his image. He created man and woman. So, and just the idea of protecting children from any sexualization. So that could be a problem. Senate Bill 13 is a complicated bill. Mark, you actually could probably unravel it better than me. Than I could. That one, we're waiting for it to be heard on the House floor. It's its last committee, and it creates protections for folks who come out of state into New Mexico to provide these egregious services from liability and risk, or less risk than others would have. So in the middle of a healthcare crisis, in the middle of a mass exodus of many of our healthcare providers because of caps that were until today $6 million per incident, they're creating carve-outs and protections for people who provide abortion and transgender chemical and surgical procedures. I'm very concerned about Senate Bill 397. That is a putting into statute laws and rules and regulations around our school-based health clinics in New Mexico. 79 out of 89 school districts already have school-based health clinics. They choose the services they provide: dental services, vision screenings, physicals for sports, well checks, sometimes immunizations, things like that. We know at the high schools, school districts can choose to be providing family planning, behavioral health services, abortion services, STI treatments without parental notification. But with the changes in House Bill 7 and House Bill 207, this could be happening at any age. And with this bill, it mandates, it says, if you have a school-based health clinic, you shall provide these services. You shall provide them at that clinic, or you shall refer out for these services. So just so many very problematic bills they're either on their last committee before they go to the governor or to their last floor vote, or they're already waiting for the governor to sign.
Now,
I do want to give a
we're-
shout out. I do want to
Go
give a
ahead.
shout out to the Republicans in the House and the Senate. All voted against the capital outlay, even though there was millions and millions of dollars going to their districts for road, for infrastructure, for wastewater. They know these dollars are critical to their community. Every single Republican in the House and Senate voted no on the capital outlay because they would not remove the $10 million for the abortion clinic. So now the governor can line item veto their capital outlay if she so chooses. And let's just pray that she does not, because these communities need these infrastructure funds for roads, for water, for critical access.
Wow. And I know you sent me a video of several members speaking out against this, including one Democrat, if I'm not mistaken, saying that because of that inclusion of this $10 million center, which was pretty amazing to see.
Two Democrats stood up and said, because this has abortion, state-funded abortion clinic, maybe the first in the nation, we're not quite sure, with state tax dollars and state-paid services. And by the way, all these services at these school-based health clinics will also be on the taxpayer dime. Just something unprecedented in this nation at this level. And so they voted no, and I'm so proud. Anthony Allison is a Native American from West New Mexico, and he has consistently voted for life. And I see him in the hall, I give him a hug, I call him my friend and champion for life.
He had a beautiful comment about how in his culture, they see life as something sacrosanct, and it was just it gave me goosebumps really listening to yeah.
It was beautiful.
Now, okay, so I know right now a lot of these, which unfortunately I have to say, unsurprisingly, have already breezed through a lot of these committees and are waiting on some signatures. I know Senate Bill 13, I believe there's still an opportunity to reach out to the House Judiciary Committee.
I think it's being heard right now.
Right now.
Well, it was supposed to be 1:30, but they're running behind, so I think it's on the agenda today.
So if you go to newfrontline.org and you're watching, there is that list of emails and phone numbers if you want to give it that last effort to try to speak out against this one. And that capital outlay, if I'm not mistaken, that's gone through both bodies, correct?
That's correct. It is
Yeah.
now.
So
they just
that one, I know we had over 2,000 people petitioning and calling against that $10 million abortion center. But as we already talked about, things were shuffled around in the beginning of this session and kind of stacked the cards against us. So I think it's been an amazing effort, and we've had so many opportunities of people speaking up against these efforts and really letting them know that we're paying attention, and if anything, they're just emboldening us to.
That's right.
Yeah. So,
well, I'll tell you, I think we have an unprecedented opportunity to have pro-life, pro-family rights, pro-protecting our children, helping them and not harming them, people to run for school board. If you know of people who would be good school board members, let me know. Folks that are out there listening, if you're interested in running for school board, you have a family or a friend, you know of someone who left the public education system, a teacher who retired early or chose a different path because of forced vaccinations, or now these things that are happening, or they don't want to do the cultural the different social studies standards that are being forced on them that basically create division instead of unity in our beautiful state. It's time to run for school board. You have until June to sign up. The elections are in November. I would love to help folks if they want to protect children from harm and they want to get engaged in the school board. Run for office. We'll help you. We'll raise money. We'll knock doors. We will find the folks to help us get pro family, pro parent, and people who want to protect children and not see them harmed.
That's amazing. Rebecca, thank you so much. And anything else real quick before we move on?
I just want to thank you guys for your prayers. I served in the House for 6 years, and now I'm just helping out when and where I can. And I'm exhausted watching what they've gone through. It's a different perspective, but such admiration for these guys who come up here and volunteer their time. And the jabs, the attack ads they know are coming, the people they know who are going to knock doors against them. And I'm just so proud of the Republicans and the couple of Democrats who have joined us on several votes that have stood up for life and for families and for children.
I love it. Rebecca, thank you so much for all you've done, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks.
So just like Rebecca said, if you're watching this and you're passionate about these issues, I take that as a calling to get involved at some level, especially at the local level, city level, school board levels. You never know where God is going to bring you as an opportunity to be a voice for the voiceless. But that is how things are going to change. It's not by us just sitting and complaining about the issues. And then real quick, I wanted to give an opportunity to one of those people who's making a huge impact as well as the director of the Right to Life Committee of New Mexico. We've had her on recently, but Miss Ethel Maharg. You always put your money where your mouth is, and not only running Right to Life, but you've even making bids for governor and mayor and all kinds of things. So I wanted to make sure we pull you on and gave you an opportunity as well, Ethel, for all the updates coming from Right to Life.
Well, thanks, Mark. Sorry, you know what? I'm actually in an airport right now. Look at this. Turn around. Look, see behind me. I'm over here south. And so I thought, okay, I'll give it a shot. No, you know what? The session has been brutal. And I see the legislators, like Rebecca said, it's tough to watch. My heart was just broken. We just had a prayer event with the pastors the other day, and I tell them I cried right all through it. Seeing what's going on and the things that are going on in our state. As you know, HB 7 is did it get signed yet? It wasn't this morning. I was checking on it. And then SB 13 was headed to the House for a final vote. And then, of course, they'll go to the governor. But you know what? People are like, no, we're not going to take this line down. We are, with Better Together New Mexico. What a great organization. And we're making sure that we get the tallies on everybody and how they voted. It's just like the 505 bill that just went through, the appropriations for the 10 million. We're like, I don't think so, and so we're posting everybody's names, let people know what their representatives did, what they voted for, and how dare they, how dare they do that? Because people put them in office not to go kill children. So anyway, we're here just in the fight, and I'm meeting with pastors. More and more pastors are engaging, and I can't even tell you how grateful I am about that church leaders are coming on the scene to help us, because this really is, it's a spiritual fight, that. And so you guys are in the middle of your 40 days for life, and the difference y'all make when you're in that, it changes everything. So I'm so grateful for you, Mark. Thank you so much for everything you do.
Thank you, Ethel, and thank you for keeping tabs on that. I always tell folks to head over to New Mexico Right to Life website, and you can see those guides that show exactly who's being endorsed and being, positive towards the sanctity of life and the way they vote. So thank you for doing what you're doing, being there in the Lion's Den and coming to us from the middle of your commute. I appreciate your help, Ethel.
Sure, absolutely, anytime.
God bless. Okay, so as Ethel mentioned, she did mention that we're in the middle of our 40 Days for Life campaign. And on that note, as you can see at the bottom of the screen, we have two events coming up this weekend. One is that we have our March of the Crosses in Las Cruces, New Mexico. And in tribute to the city being named the City of the Crosses, we have been doing this March for every 40 Days for Life campaign since we started in 2014. And of course, we had several years there after the abortion center closed, but we are now resuming those, of course. And so you can come out and bring a crucifix, a cross, something that represents your faith tradition, a banner, to join in this March of the Crosses. And it's always amazing to see a whole line of people walking around the block, around lining these sidewalks in front of this abortion center, peacefully praying as a sign of that last sign of hope that Christ brings to those women who feel they have no other choice, as well as the first sign of his mercy for those who are coming out. So join us for that event. It's going to be this Saturday, March 18th at 1 p.m. And after that, you're actually going to get a tour of the new Guiding Star Women's Center that we've opened up right next door to this Pink House location. We're still just a couple weeks away. We keep having to push it back a little bit, a few little T's we got to cross and forms we got to get approved. But we are just just a couple weeks away from getting that facility opened. It is furnished, it is ready to go, and you can be one of the first to get to see the inside and tour the new facility following this March of the Crosses event. So don't miss that. And then later that same evening on Saturday, March 18th, we'll have a candlelight prayer vigil at 6 p.m. At the Santa Teresa abortion facility that's down closer to El Paso on the New Mexico side of the state line. So now we've been getting a lot of calls about a lot of these bills and questions and all that. So we always defer to our legal counsel for these types of questions. And so I want to bring on Mr. Mike Seibel from Abortion on Trial. Mike, first of all, thank you. You were featured in that video we opened with from Sidewalk Advocates, which we just saw today, and they did a great job.
Oh, thank you. Hey, Mark, everybody's saying this is brutal. I don't think this is brutal. I am going to make a prediction today. The governor just wasted $10 million because you know what? They're not going to go to that clinic. You know why? You guys are out there. You guys are going to beat them up, but they're going to close the clinic because there's not going to be enough demand. We're going to, Jonathan Mitchell just filed some great lawsuits against abortion providers in Texas this week. They're not going to want to travel to New Mexico and risk all that. This is going to be amazing. We're going to see the most colossal waste of $10 million in the history of New Mexico on abortion. And, it's sad that we have to pay for it as a taxpayer, but it's not going to do them any good. I mean, and that's the theme of this session. We were expecting the worst at the beginning of this session. We were expecting codification of abortion. Didn't happen. We were expecting, attacks on pregnancy centers. Didn't happen. A lot of it is because, we diverted them to the sanctuary cities for the unborn on HB 7. And, I don't think HB 7 or SB 13 are as bad as people think. So, with that, you want me to address any particular questions regarding the bills, I'd be happy to do so.
Yeah, we've had a lot of questions and emails and calls and staff members even asking, about the concern about, does this bill potentially legalize infanticide? I wouldn't put it past the abortion proponents in the state of New Mexico to push that bill, but is that where we're at with HB 7?
No, not at all. What this was it's based on an opinion by the ACLJ that said it had some concerning language, but it didn't mention the word infanticide. It had an HB 7 and SB 13 having their definition something about perinatal time period. If we tracked what happened in California and in Maryland, that was a totally different situation where they were limiting liability for physicians in the perinatal period for abuse and neglect. We didn't touch our wrongful death statute. We didn't touch our murder statute out here to limit liability. It was just a reference to perinatal, and I don't quite understand where some of our senators and some organizations are saying that this is an infanticide bill. Nowhere near. It doesn't do anything to promote infanticide, and it does not relieve the providers of any liability, and it does not relieve the mother of any liability and the father for letting an infant die in this situation after abortion. So, and CYFD statutes weren't even amended, and the CYFD statutes would have had to have been amended because they address abuse and neglect of a minor child and not getting medical care. And CYFD still has the responsibility to look out for these infants born alive. So it's a little bit of a misnomer. A lot of the stuff, there's a lot of misinformation about HB 7 saying that it takes away parental consent for gender affirming care. I don't think so. If you hear that, send them to my office, the parents to my office right away. We're gonna get a really big lawsuit against any provider that provides gender affirming care, without parental consent. Abortion's a little bit trickier. There's a lot of laws. I would have to have a half hour to explain it, but the parental consent is not there. And on the opposite side, I want you to have your viewers look out for this. Anybody who is coerced by any member of the state into an abortion, have them call my office. They have a lawsuit under HB 7. It's not only for abortion, but it's also the right to keep your baby. So we've got a new frontier. We got a whole bunch of new theories of law as a result of HB 7. And, anybody who feels regret from abortion, it's from this point forward, June 15th forward of this year. But anybody who has regret from abortion or feels coerced by a state agency to have that abortion, well, we've got a lawsuit and possibly a wrongful death lawsuit.
And let me just clarify this because this is important. While overall there was still kind of a net negative in the sense that now that this is kind of backpedaling these city ordinances and not allowing cities to put these types of restrictions in place at the local level because it's wording and I don't even know if they realize this because of the way it's worded of any kind of state organization can't interfere with somebody's what they're calling pregnancy decision, such as to have an abortion. That's just as easily, if I'm understanding the way that this could be applied, is that if an organization receiving public funds or something somehow talks somebody into an abortion or encourages them to have one, that is also interfering with their pregnancy decision. Am I understanding that right?
That's the way it reads, Mark. I mean, I think this is going to be groundbreaking for us as well. And, doesn't extend to police departments denying the ability to access the sidewalk for those advertising reproductive rights, such as Southwest Coalition for Life. Well, if they abuse their position, it might just be a tool for us to get attorney's fees against them. There's a variety of different lawsuits, coercion. What happens if you have a public official or a teacher who had an affair with a student and coerces abortion? I think that even applies in this case. So, I mean, this is groundbreaking for us here. I don't think it's as negative as we think it is. And then we've got the Supreme Court case in New Mexico, that is ongoing right now that will probably address the sanctuary cities for the unborn. So, I mean, I don't think this bill does a lot to damage our Supreme Court case in this situation. So I think, there's a lot of positives. And, SB 13, I looked at it over the weekend. Wow, that's an unconstitutional bill. It doesn't allow recognition of judgments from other states, which is clearly unconstitutional under the not the New Mexico, but the U.S. Supreme Court. Under the New Mexico Supreme Court, it violates our extradition rights. It violates our First Amendment freedom of speech. I think there's a variety of ways that this is actually going to be held unconstitutional in the future. I'm glad they're wasting everybody's time and money to feel good about abortion. But you know what? In the end, look at where we are. 2015, we had 3,500 abortions in state for our in-state residents. That number's down to 2,700. I don't think that, they're going to see the influx from Texas. I think we're going to be closing clinics here very shortly. I don't think the clinics can have enough volume from out of state to maintain where they're at. Again, there's only 2,600 pregnancies in Doña County. And we'll now have 5 clinics, which will mean each clinic has enough capacity to do. We'll take one a week to fill the capacity for the abortions. So, I mean, this is stupid, unbelievably stupid on behalf of the governor.
That is amazing. So, while these bills definitely were lemons, and there was definitely some bad in them. This opportunity, that's why I always love having you on with that reading these bills as an attorney, a lot of ways that we're not able to fully understand how to squeeze those lemons and sometimes even squeeze some lemonade out of the situation. And so I think this very well may end up being one of those situations where we might see some surprising situations where this God sometimes doesn't work, in a straight line through answering prayers. And sometimes what looks like a major setback, we can get creative and figure out a way to do the best in the situation we're in.
I really just don't think that this is a setback. I mean, coming out of this legislative session, I know there's a couple days and they could introduce a bill and bring it all the way to the governor, in the next 2 days. It's unlikely. But, escaping the codification of Roe versus Wade, which was on the table as late as October, November, that they wanted to bring a bill, and also the attacks on the pregnancy centers, which I know is on the table in as late as October, November, and they had to divert and protect against the sanctuary cities for the unborn. We owe a great deal of gratitude to Mayor Morris and the Clovis people, to the citizens of Hobbs, Eunice, Lee County, and Roosevelt County, as well as Mark Lee Dixon, you guys down there for supporting it. I think we dodged a huge bullet in the codification of Roe. I think we dodged a huge bullet in attack on sidewalk advocacy and pregnancy centers that we won't see for 2 more years. So we just have to we have to change the culture like we have been doing for the last 8 years. And as we change it even more, next time around, we'll gain some more ground.
And I just want to close by sharing real quick this article. When we're talking about this capital outlay and this $10 million abortion center, and this kind of being a waste of money, of course. But there was this Vice News article talking about really New Mexico, being positioned more as this kind of main battleground in the with the abortion battle happening in the United States. But here towards the end, they talk about this organization, Bold Futures, being in the process of setting up, which will be now a 5th abortion center offering abortions in Las Cruces. And this is going to be funded by the $10 million pledged by the governor of New Mexico. But then what even just kind of I scoff and laugh at is that, I mean, I think what we could do and what any of the amazing, heart-led organizations in New Mexico that actually care about women could do with $1 million, let alone 10, but then they cap it off saying that this clinic will need even more money to get off the ground. And it will also be, it's likely to be more than a year, if not 2, before it opens. So talk about, your tax dollars at work, not only for abortion, but, even if you're on that side, just being used very poorly. And it's just how tragic. There's so many other places that this money could be going. But go ahead.
The article, I mean, it was a good article, if I remember it, that halfway through it says, and then Mark Lee Dixon showed up.
Right.
Like some type of hero out of a Marvel Comics book thing. It was kind of funny. It was a really good article about the abortion wars here, and this is it. This is a testament to all of us here in New Mexico. We are winning this battle. This is the new front line. Yeah, we've got some setbacks, but you know what? We're smart. We're ingenuitive, and guess what? We got God on our side. And as Ethel said, life is winning.
Right. Yeah, this is the one right there. And then Mark Lee Dixon showed up. Well, thank you, Mike, for popping on, and I appreciate all your counsel, both in so many ways, including unpacking all of this and the legal aspects. So we're going to be putting out more information and emails with follow-up, and we'll be keeping everyone updated as we try to unpack what all of this means for the future of our efforts in Las Cruces and in New Mexico. But we wouldn't be able to do it without you. So, Mike, God bless you. Thank you so much.
God bless you, and keep up the good work down there. Let's shut down this $10 million clinic first.
Yeah, let's shut it down before they even get off the ground is my goal.
That's right.
So, all right, folks. Well, again, just as one last reminder before we sign off, don't forget, if you're in the southern part of the state and you want to travel in for this, we are going to have the March of the Crosses in tribute to the city of the Crosses at the Pink House location, the now newly renamed Las Cruces Women's Health Organization that has moved into New Mexico from Jackson, Mississippi after they lost at the Supreme Court and were forced to close. That'll be again Saturday, March 18th at 1 p.m., followed by a tour of the new Guiding Star Pro-Life Women's Center that's going to be right next door. And then later that evening, a candlelight vigil in Santa Teresa, New Mexico, which is about 45 minutes further south, right next to El Paso, Texas. And that'll be at 6 p.m. candlelight vigil as part of the midpoint of our ongoing 40 Days for Life campaign. And thank you for all of you for your prayers, for your fasting. And it's never too late to join if you have not signed up for just to go out in prayer for 1 hour prayer in this unbroken chain of prayer to be that last sign of Christ's hope, that first sign of Christ's mercy. And so many women who have said they were praying for a sign on what they should do, and they saw someone out praying peacefully on their knees and said that you were their sign. You can be somebody's sign from God to make a different decision than what the world is telling them to make. So with that being said, you can get all that information and more at southwest.life. And we will be keeping you updated. Make sure you're on our email list and share all this information. God bless you. And we will